Hi, I'm Liz Chapman with the City of Aspen Environmental Health and Sustainability Office. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Talkin' Trashy. Shall we start again? Hi, I'm Liz Chapman. I'm with the City of Aspen Environmental Health and Sustainability Office, and I want to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Talkin' Trashy. In the ever-changing world of waste reduction, the City of Aspen is constantly adapting to those changes, and I'm here today to talk about the changes that we've made at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. Unfortunately, the pandemic had a severe budget impact on the City of Aspen, and we were forced to cut some programs. The Rio Grande Recycle Center still recycles glass bottles, yard waste, metal scraps, old textiles, clothing, and batteries. Unfortunately, there are a few items that we can no longer accept here. They can still be recycled, they just can't be recycled at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. So some of those items include cardboard boxes. Cardboard boxes must be placed in your home or business single stream recycling. Or you can take it to the Pitkin County Recycling Center and there's no charge for that. Plastic, jars, bottles, containers is another example of something we do not accept at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. We ask that you put plastic that can be recycled into your single stream recycling at your home or business. You can also take plastic with the cardboard to the Pitkin County Landfill Recycling Center and recycle it in their single stream recycling facility. And finally, paper products of any kind are no longer accepted at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. Some paper products can be composted. Come to our website at aspenrecycles.com and learn more about how you can participate in compost. But if you're not part of the compost program or you have paper that can be recycled, not composted, please put it in your home single stream recycling or take it to the Pitkin County Landfill Recycling Center, and there's no charge for that service. So let's go into the recycling center and find out more about what can be recycled here. You may notice at the Rio Grande Recycle Center, there are a couple of recycle bins that are off to the side. These are for our citizens and visitors who cannot utilize the tall bins for glass and metals. So we have one of the bins that's clearly marked for metals only. Again, be sure those metals are rinsed. And then we have another bin that's for glass bottles and jars, which also we ask that you rinse out all of the food and beverage residue before you recycle the glass in the glass only bin. We ask that you limit the use of these bins to the people who are physically incapable of using our large glass and metal bins. Household metals can be recycled at the Rio Grande Recycle Center in the red bin. Aluminum cans, toolboxes, scraps left over from home projects can be placed inside the red dumpster marked metals only. This red dumpster is for household metals only. It is not for large appliances. It is not for construction waste. Construction metals should be taken directly to the Pitkin County landfill, as well as things like stoves, hot water heaters, refrigerators. Appliances, large metal items can be recycled, but they need to be taken to the Pitkin County landfill for that to happen. At the Rio Grande Recycle Center, say you've finished a shelving project and you've got a little bit of scrap metal. Well, you cannot recycle this in your home recycling, but you can bring it to the Rio Grande Recycle Center and put it in the metals only bin. Say you've got a metal pan that's no good anymore. You can also recycle that, not at home, but at the Rio Grande Recycle Center in the metals only bin. There are also cans. These can be recycled in two ways. You can put them in the single stream recycling, or you can bring them to the metals only bin at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. However, This bin, this container, is wide open, which means wildlife can get to it. That means we all have to be sure that no food residue is ever put into the metals bin. So rinse out your cans, whether they're tin cans or aluminum cans. Make sure that these are rinsed clean of all food products before you add them to the metals only bin. Recycling metals is one of the most energy efficient forms of recycling there is. We've got a short video that explains more about how metal is recycled.
Novelis is the world's largest recycler of used beverage cans. They arrive at its factory in Warrington, England from all over the world, compressed into bales, each weighing up to 1,000 kilograms and containing as many as 65,000 aluminium cans.
Every year, we save enough energy recycling aluminium cans, cars, tools, even planes to run the whole of India.
The bales of compressed cans are loaded onto a conveyor and fed into a 340 horsepower shredder. Aluminium is tricky to sort because, unlike some metals, it can't be separated out with a magnet. So next, the shredded scrap passes through an optical sorter at a rate of 3 meters per second. The machine uses infrared sensors to sort out what's metal and what isn't. Then blasts away any plastic or glass with jets of air. A powerful magnet sucks up any scraps of steel, leaving just aluminium.
We Brits say aluminium.
And the Americans say aluminum.
But who's right?
Well, Sir Humphrey Davy, the British guy who discovered it in 1807, he wrote down the name as alumium, which no one calls it. Then he changed it to aluminum, and then he changed it again to aluminium. So either he didn't know what to call it, or he just couldn't spell.
It's aluminium.
Aluminum.
The next problem is aluminium doesn't melt until 660 degrees. The paint and lacquer aren't so lucky. They're instantly vaporized. The clean aluminium chips are ready for the next stage, melting. Two furnaces hit a blistering 730 degrees and handle up to 100 tons of aluminium each. The trouble is, when the aluminium melts, it reacts with air, forming a layer of aluminium oxide that floats on top. This unwanted oxide is known as dross. A brave furnace operator skims it off with a giant steel spatula. And the alloy is ready for the casting area. The only problem is getting there. A river of molten metal flows downhill to a holding furnace that's the size of a double-decker bus. Somehow, they need to pour the liquid metal into a mold. Remarkably, the solution is to tip the entire furnace. And a fountain of deadly metal pours into one of 3 molds set 10 meters into the ground. Inside, they will be cast into 3 towering blocks of aluminium. After 2.5 hours, they have 3 giant aluminium monoliths, called ingots. Each one is 10 meters long, weighs 27 tons, and is made up of 1.5 million recycled cans.
Aluminium or aluminum is not expensive because it's rare. In fact, it's the most common metal in the Earth's crust. It's expensive because it's so hard to extract from the rock around it. 150 years ago, it was more expensive than gold.
Today, demand for aluminium is so high, the ingots don't lie around. Their transformation back into cans starts with a 900-kilometer journey to a rolling mill in Germany. Here, they're heated in another furnace to 525 degrees. This relaxes the bonds between the aluminium atoms, releasing any stresses within the ingot. Then it's passed back and forth through a series of rollers. It's a bit like rolling pastry. Each set of rollers thins out the metal until it's 1/4 millimeter thick and 10,000 meters long. That's 1,000 times its original length. Massive reels of the aluminium arrive back in the UK at Ball Packaging to undergo reconversion into cans, and possibly something a little more out of this world.
We've got 3 basic product categories: beverage packaging, household metal packaging, and we also have an aerospace division. So the interesting thing, of course, is manufacturing beverage cans is rocket science.
The aluminium alloys for rockets are very similar to the ones used for cans. So theoretically, your old can could be on its way to space. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, they feed the sheets of aluminium into a rapid-fire cupping press. This heavyweight knocks out thousands of shallow cups. The secret of turning them into cans is a tight squeeze. Every cup is rammed through a series of rings, each narrower than the last. Forcing the aluminium through the rings squeezes it into a cylinder, and a new can is born.
The very first time anyone put a beverage in an aluminum can, it was beer. It was in the US, and it was 1959. And even back then, they still recycled. You got a cent for every can you brought back.
They produce around 6.5 million cans here every day and send them all over the world. That's a whole lot of aluminium. Luckily, there's plenty more where these came from.
So just like it's illegal to put yard waste into the trash, it's also improper to put batteries into the trash. So we have provided a free place for you to recycle your household batteries at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. When we say household batteries, we mean things like D-cell, AA, watch batteries, 9-volt batteries, even power tool batteries. All of these things can go into the household battery bin at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. However, we do ask, if you have a 9-volt battery, put a little piece of tape over the conducting part. If there's just a little bit of charge left, that positive and negative pole can create a spark. And we don't want to create any fire hazards here at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. So batteries, household batteries, can go into this bin. Please put a little tape over that 9-volt battery. If you have large batteries, such as car batteries or something that comes with a ballast for lights, those need to be disposed of at the Pitkin County Household Hazardous Waste Facility. You can take it to the Pitkin County landfill and go to the hazardous waste tent, and they can get car batteries, light ballast disposed of properly.
Okay. 5, 4, 3.
At the Rio Grande Recycle Center, Pitkin County sponsors a textiles recycling program. It's in the green and white bin that says clothes and shoes only. You can only put clothing and shoes inside of this bin, and we ask that you put them inside of a bag. So put your clothing and your shoes in separate bags, and if you can use a clear bag, that's even better. What we want to be sure that we do not put into this bin are curtains and rugs, anything that has a mixture of plastic and fabric. We want just clothing and shoes placed into this bin. Once you have your shoes in their own bag, stick them inside the bin and be sure it goes all the way in. Then you can take your bag of clothing and just clothing, and it can also get recycled in the bin. Now, this is a really popular program, and sometimes this bin is full. So we ask that you never leave anything on the ground. What we can recycle at the US Again bin are clothing and shoes. We cannot accept things with stuffing like down comforters or pillows. We cannot accept things that have a rubber or plastic backing like bath mats or rugs. Stick to just clothing and shoes, and be sure that you put it inside the clothing bin. If the bin is full, we ask that you come back later and give us a chance to empty it. You like that? You like how I
You got it.
Okay. Give your clothes a second life with Use Again. Every day, 30,000 tons of clothes are thrown away in the U.S., polluting and wasting resources, increasing greenhouse gas emissions, and accelerating climate change. The U.S. EPA estimates that 85% of all clothing is trashed, and only 15% is reused or recycled. Use Again, a for-profit company, provides a simple, eco-friendly solution to recycle those unwanted textiles and help the environment at the same time. Clean out your cluttered closets of those surplus clothes, shoes, and household textiles, and visit www.useagain.com to find the nearest textile recycling bin for easy drop-off. Bins are conveniently located in partnership with schools, businesses, and recycling facilities near you, and most are accessible 24/7, 365 days a year to fit your schedule. Simply drop off your clothes in Tide bags, and you've helped us create a greener environment. What happens to the items you've dropped off? Well, people around the world happily reuse much of the clothes and shoes as secondhand clothing. As many as 70% of people in the world wear secondhand clothes. The items that are damaged are turned into wiping rags or insulation material. The bottom line is that by recycling with Use Again, you help create jobs, conserve resources, and reduce water and air pollution. Use Again supports many initiatives for a better environment, so we can all breathe a little easier. When you recycle your clothes with Use Again in 2013, you helped plant over 200,000 trees. These trees remove climate-changing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere, equal to taking 5,000 cars off the roads. Be part of the Use Again movement. Find your nearest textile recycling bin at useagain.com. Thank you for recycling.
At the Rio Grande Recycle Center, we've provided a place to put metals and glass. And those are the only places to put metals and glass is in the bins that are designated for that. But we take more than just metals and glass at the Recycle Center. In the city of Aspen, there is a rule that says putting yard waste, such as grass, leaves, branches, that's illegal in Aspen. In Aspen, we want to compost those materials instead of adding them to the landfill. So at the Rio Grande Recycle Center, we provide bins for yard waste. Now, what goes in the yard waste bin needs to be limited to yard waste, No plastic, no metal, no glass, no paper, just grass and leaves. So if you brought your grass or your leaves to the Rio Grande Recycle Center in a plastic bag, it's important that you empty the plastic bag. Only organic waste go into the yard waste bins, leaves and grass and small vegetative matter. No plastic, no metal, no paper. And we also need to limit it to just grass and leaves. No branches, no pieces of wood. This material is taken to the Pitkin County landfill to be composted. And we can only compost those things that are small. Branches and larger pieces of wood aren't going to be chipped and they won't break down in the compost. So be sure and empty your bag and then take your bag, reuse it, or you can throw it away. It's important also to note that the yard waste bins at the Rio Grande Recycle Center are only for residential use. These bins are not for commercial landscapers, they're not for property management. These yard waste bins are for residential waste. We have provided trash cans so that once you've emptied your plastic bag from your leaves, you can put it into the brown totes at the recycle center. The City of Aspen and Pitkin County have partnered to provide you with an option for recycling glass only at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. You can recycle glass bottles and jars in your home single stream recycling, but you can also put them in the glass only bin. Be sure they're clean and rinsed, and you can place jars and bottles into the bin marked glass only. You can also put drinkware in there, like glasses from your dining room table. What you cannot put into the glass only bin are mirrors, windows, light bulbs, things that weren't made to hold beverages. The glass bin is for containers that held some sort of food or beverage, and then you recycle them. But be sure that you rinse those food and beverage containers before you put them in the bin at the Rio Grande Recycle Center to protect yourself and to protect wildlife.
In the old days, recycling glass meant turning it into this. Glass was recycled into what they called aggregate, which was used to cover landfills. Basically, the glass was turned back into sand. But today, because of technological advancements, more glass can be recycled back into glass.
The technology today allows us to sort glass in ways that would not be economical to do manually. The first step is to remove small metal objects that are in there with a magnet. After going through that process, the material will go to a eddy current, essentially a reverse magnet, which will charge any non-ferrous metals in there, aluminum, bits of copper, and so on, with an electric charge, and those non-ferrous metals are then ejected from the stream. We then go to a series of optical sorters. The optical sorters are identifying the glass by color, ejecting the clear glass with air jets. What's remaining are clear glasses conveyed into a bunker, stored there until it's loaded into trucks to be shipped to glass bottle manufacturers.
We just can't get enough glass. We use approximately 150 tons of recycled glass daily, and we will use that to make new bottles. We receive that recycled glass, and it is mixed as you would mix a cake. It goes into a very large furnace, heated at 2,700 degrees, and turns into a molten glass. That molten glass is cured through a process and then is delivered to our forming machines. You will see that glass being cut into drops or gobs, and it is formed immediately into a glass container. It will go out on a conveyor, going through an oven, go through a lengthy inspection process automatically. beauty of recycling is that if you purchase on the streets of New York, for example, a Snapple bottle, when turned back into a recycling bin, we'll make another Snapple bottle.
Thank you so much for joining me, Liz Chapman, in another episode of Talkin' Trashy. I appreciate you taking the time to learn how to recycle at the Rio Grande Recycle Center, because there are always changes going on and it takes a lot of energy to stay up to date with those changes, and you've taken the time to put that energy in, so thank you. I want to remind you, at the Rio Grande Recycle Center, you can recycle glass. Be sure you rinse it out at the glass-only container. You can recycle metal, scrap metal from household projects, or aluminum and steel cans that you've rinsed and made sure that there's no evidence of food left in those containers before you put them into the big red bin. You can also get your yard waste composted by putting it into the big white bins that say yard waste. Additionally, we talked about the textile recycling and the battery recycling. Unfortunately, as I said at the beginning of the show, the COVID-19 pandemic cut into the City of Aspen's budget, and we had to make a number of cuts, which means we cannot at this time offer cardboard recycling at the Rio Grande Recycle Center. You can still recycle cardboard. You can take cardboard and plastic and recycle it in your home or office recycling. All the single stream systems in Aspen and Pitkin County accept cardboard and plastic, along with glass, paper, and metal in the recycling. If you don't have home or office recycling, you can go to the Pitkin County landfill. They have a free recycling center there where you can drop off all of your single stream recycling at no charge. I do want to caution you that you want to read the signs and put the right things in the right bin. Materials that are put in the wrong bin or left on the ground are subject to fines, tickets, and a possible court appearance. So please follow the instructions at the Rio Grande Recycle Center and avoid that for yourself. You can go to aspenrecycles.com for all the information and more that you would want to know about recycling at the Rio Grande Recycle Center and at home and at the landfill. If you need to contact me, Liz Chapman, with questions, you can reach out to me via email, which is liz.chapman@cityofaspen.com, or you can call me at 970-319-6890. Again, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next Talkin' Trashy.